In the grand, sun-bleached city of Athens, no man was more respected than Aristos. He was the chief scholar of the Lyceum, a man whose entire life was a monument to facts. His personal library was legendary, containing scrolls from as far as Egypt and Babylon. He had memorized the laws of Solon, the theorems of Pythagoras, and the histories of Herodotus. When senators debated a new trade route, they consulted Aristos on geography. When generals planned a campaign, they consulted him on past battles. Aristos never hesitated. He would walk to a specific shelf, pull a specific scroll, and declare, "In the 4th year of the Peloponnesian War, as noted by Thucydides, the Spartan fleet did precisely this. Therefore you must do that." He was a man of absolute certainty. To him, the universe was a vast, complex, but ultimately knowable machine. He believed he had read the instruction manual. His mind was a fortress, and he was its master. This made the presence of Socrates deeply irritating to him. He would see the old, barefoot philosopher in the agora, marketplace, surrounded by a crowd of raucous, questioning youths. Socrates, unlike Aristos, never gave answers. He only asked questions. He didn't quote scrolls. He questioned the very words people used. Aristos saw this not as wisdom, but as chaos. "He is a corrupter," Aristos would mutter. "He tears down, but he never builds." One sweltering afternoon, Aristos was walking through the agora, his robes immaculate, his mind on a complex astronomical calculation. He saw the usual crowd around Socrates, who was busy questioning a well-known politician named Cleon about the nature of patriotism. Cleon was sweating, his confident answers crumbling into confused silence. Aristos had had enough. It was time to show Athens the difference between real knowledge and this destructive, empty game. He strode into the circle, his presence immediately commanding silence. The crowd parted. "Socrates," Aristos announced, his voice booming with authority. "We are all weary of your games. You circle your prey like a wolf, only to leave confusion. I am a man of facts, of knowledge. Let us end this charade. I will ask you a simple, fundamental question, one that I have already answered thanks to the great scrolls." Socrates turned, his gaze calm and curious. "Ask your question, Aristos. If I have an answer, I will give it." Aristos smiled, certain of his victory. "Tell me, old man, what is justice?" Before Socrates could even reply, Aristos raised a hand. "Allow me to answer, to provide a proper foundation. I have read the complete works of Draco and Solon. Justice is the precise and unwavering application of the law as it is written." He crossed his arms, satisfied. The crowd murmured in approval. It was a solid, understandable definition. Socrates nodded. "A fine answer, Aristos. Clear and precise. So tell me, if the written law stated that all men with red hair must be exiled from Athens, would it be just to exile them?" Aristos frowned. "That is an absurd example. No such law would ever be passed by reasonable men." "But if it were passed," Socrates pressed gently, "if the assembly voted on it and it was written into the stone tablets, would it be just to obey it?" "If it is the law, it is just," Aristos said rigidly, feeling the trap. "Justice is adherence to the agreed-upon rules." "I see," said Socrates. "So justice is simply the will of the majority? It has no connection to what is good or right? What if a tyrant seizes control and writes a law that he may take any man's property for his own pleasure? Is it just for the citizens to obey?" "Of course not," Aristos snapped. "A tyrant's law is not true law." "But why not?" Socrates asked, his voice still soft. "You said justice was the application of written law. The tyrant wrote it. How do you now distinguish a true law from a false one? It seems your definition of justice relies on another definition, true law, which you cannot explain." Aristos felt a bead of sweat. He changed tactics. "It is simple. A law is just if it benefits the state. And who decides what benefits the state? The tyrant? The majority? What if a law benefits the many but cruelly harms the few? Is that just? And tell me, Aristos, why should a man be just at all if he can profit by being unjust in secret?" Aristos opened his mouth. His mind, his perfect library, was whirring. He searched for the scroll that answered why. He could find thousands of scrolls on what the laws were. He could find none on the fundamental, unshakable why. He grasped for his final authority. We should be just because the gods command it. Socrates' eyes lit up. Ah, the gods! I am glad you brought them up. But which gods? Zeus, who lies to his wife. Hera, who is consumed by jealousy. Ares, who loves slaughter. The gods in Homer's poems are constantly at war with each other, arguing over what is just or unjust. So Aristos, tell me this. Is an action just because the gods love it? Or do the gods love it because it is just? Aristos stared at him. The crowd was completely silent. He had no answer. The question was a perfect paradox. The fortress in his mind was crumbling. The scrolls were on fire. All his facts, his dates, his theorems, they were just descriptions of the world, like a map. And Socrates was asking him what the territory itself was made of. He didn't know. He looked at Socrates, his face pale, his arrogance gone. Socrates looked back, not with triumph, but with a deep, shared humanity. You see, Aristos, Socrates said softly, you are celebrated as the wisest man in Athens because you believe you know everything and you have the facts to prove it. The oracle at Delphi once told my friend that no man was wiser than I. I knew this must be a riddle, for I knew I was ignorant. So I spent my life seeking out men like you, the politicians who claim to know justice, the poets who claim to know beauty, the scholars who claim to know truth. And I found that they all, like you, believed they knew things they did not and could not truly understand. My only wisdom, Aristos, the only way in which I am wiser than you, is this. You believe you know when you do not. I at least know my own ignorance. I only know that I know nothing.